Hi there, my name is Dr. Katie Saint, and this video is about ODD, which stands for Oppositional Defiance Disorder. So, a lot of children struggle with this disorder, and what it basically means is they really struggle with being told what to do. They often will resist demands and they will argue a lot. Sometimes they will do things to irritate people and really challenge authority. So there's different strategies that are effective when working with a child with ODD. One very simple strategy is to give them choices. So for example, it's time to do homework. You can say to the child, would you like to do homework at the table or outside? Or you could simply say, you can do homework wherever you want. Where would you like to do your homework? And so when you give a child with ODD more choices, they feel like they have a sense of control, which is really valuable to them. The more control they have, the more secure they feel. So this helps them increase their compliance. One thing that is very important when working with a child with ODD is that you do not engage in long arguments. So it might be tempting to get your point across because you don't have bad intentions. You're probably trying to help them. But sometimes engaging in an argument is a form of escape. So they'd be happy to argue with you all day, and because of that they delay or get out of a task that you ask them to do. So it's really important that you don't engage in arguments. A lot of times, even if they think you're right, they're not going to admit that, so it's fruitless. They're trying to prove their point, where your goal shouldn't be to be right or to prove your point. Rather, you want to help shape the behavior into something that's productive. And so when you engage in those arguments, it doesn't help you get to that goal. So another thing to remember is really point out how it benefits them. And sometimes they're going to deny that it benefits them. Sometimes you're going to say, oh, you're going to love this because you'll get to play with friends. And then they'll say, I don't care, I don't want any friends. Don't be fooled by that. They might be saying that, but it doesn't mean they believe it or they mean it. So helping them understand, I'm telling you to do this because it will benefit you in this way, can help. One really important thing is you pick your battles. So you need to determine what you want them to do, and then don't give them other demands. If you're not willing to take on the battle, then don't even tell them to do it. Say you want them to clean up their clothes, but if they resist and you're like, oh, I don't feel like fighting this battle, and then you give in, you are making that problem persist. So you really only want to tell them to do things that you're willing to follow through with. So the demands need to be really clear, really non-negotiable, and really consistent. If you are inconsistent with a child with ODD, that is going to make a lot of problems for you, and it's going to take so much longer for them to accept the demands they are given. So just please remember that if you are working with or have a child with ODD, it is so important you are consistent. Give them their demand, give them a choice if you can, and then from there, that will help increase compliance. Another thing you can do to a child with ODD is, in a very casual way, point out, hey, you're really enjoying this, and that's really cool, I'm enjoying it too. So that's because you've had really good behavior today. Be careful how you phrase it, because if you phrase it in the wrong way, this could trigger your child's defense mechanisms, and they would be like, oh, I did this and it benefited you, you liked that, well, now I'm not going to do it. You know, so one thing I want to make sure is clear, sometimes a child with ODD behavior is hurtful. Sometimes it's offensive. But that doesn't mean that it reflects the heart of the child. For whatever reason, that child has a really high defense mechanism. And so that's why they're so resistant to demands and they're so oppositional. And so please try not to take it personal. Try not to view them as a bad kid or as having bad intentions. They don't necessarily. So the good news is the research supports that we can really help with the behavioral problems that come along with ODD. ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, is really effective at treating ODD. If you are consistent with following through with your demands, if you give choices, if you find ways to reinforce good behaviors. Remember, for reinforcement, it is only effective if the reinforcer is something the child actually values. So for example, if someone gave me a piece of cake as a reward, that wouldn't work for me. I don't like cake. So you have to pick something that is valuable to the child. Sometimes what's valuable to the child is something you wouldn't expect, such as alone time, or maybe even quality time with you. A special mom date or something like that can be really powerful. Maybe the reward could be, you get to boss me around for 10 minutes. I'll do whatever you want. You know, sometimes we have to get creative with what's reinforcing. But following these strategies, and I can't reiterate enough that consistency when you're working with a kid with ADHD is so important. Do not give demands that you are not going to follow through with. All right, thanks so much for listening. I hope this video really helps. Feel free to reach out if you have more questions.